essentially, then you're saying that you're in the happy face killer?
I am the happy face killer.
There's no doubt.
There is no doubt in my mind. No, I am him.
Keith Hunter Jesperson, born April 6, 1955, is a Canadian-American serial killer who murdered at least 8 women in the United States during the early 1990s. He is known as the Happy Face Killer because he drew smiley faces on his many letters to the media and authorities. Many of his victims were sex workers and transients who had no connection to him. Strangulation was Jesperson's preferred method of murdering, the same method he often used to kill animals as a child. After the body of his first victim, Taunja Bennett, was found, media attention surrounded Laverne Pavlinac, a woman who falsely confessed to having killed Bennett with the help of her abusive boyfriend, John Sosnovsky. Upset that he was not getting any media attention, Jesperson drew a smiley face on a bathroom wall hundreds of miles from the scene of the crime and wrote an anonymous letter confessing to Bennett's murder, providing proof. When that did not elicit a response, he began writing letters to the media and authorities. Jesperson's last victim was the crime that ultimately led to his capture. While he has claimed to have killed as many as 160 people, only 8 murders have been confirmed. Jesperson is currently serving a sentence of life without parole at the Oregon State Penitentiary.
Responsible for the happy face killing, which includes 8 people.
Born April 6, 1955, to Leslie and Gladys Jesperson in Chilliwack, British Columbia. That's in Canada. He is a middle child. He has 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Jesperson's father was a domineering alcoholic, of course. According to Jesperson, his paternal grandfather was prone to violence. Jesperson's father denied being an abusive parent. However, while investigating for his book on the killer, author Jack Olson was able to confirm much of the claimed abuse with other family members. Treated like an outcast and a black sheep by his own family and teased by other children for his large size at a young age, Jesperson was a lonely child who showed a propensity for torturing and killing animals. After moving to Selah, Washington, United States, or Selah, he had trouble fitting in and making friends because of his large size. His brothers did not help him. Instead, they nicknamed him Igor or Ig, a name that stuck throughout his school years. Because of this, Jesperson was a shy child, content to play by himself much of the time. He would often get into trouble for behaving badly, sometimes violently, and would be severely punished by his father. This included beatings, sometimes with a belt, in front of others, and in one case he received an electric shock. At a very early age, as young as 5, Jesperson would capture and torture animals. He enjoyed watching animals kill each other as well as the feeling he got from taking their lives. This continued as he got older. Jesperson would capture birds and stray cats and dogs around the trailer park where he lived with his family, severely beating the animals and then strangling them to death, something for which he claims his father was proud of him. In the years following, Jesperson said he often thought about what it would be like to do the same to a human. That desire manifested in 2 attempted murders. The first happened when Jesperson was around the age of 10, when he was friends with a boy named Martin. The 2 would often get into trouble together, and Jesperson claimed he was often punished many times for things Martin had done and shifted the blame. This led Jesperson to violently attack Martin until his father pulled him away. He later claimed his intention was to kill the boy. Approximately 1 year later, Jesperson was swimming in a lake when another boy held him underwater until he blacked out. Sometime later, at a public pool, Jesperson attempted to drown the boy by holding his head under the water until the lifeguard pulled him away. Jesperson reported that he was raped at age 14. He graduated from high school in 1973, but did not attend college because his father did not believe he could do it. Although Jesperson was not successful with girls in high school, having never even attended a school dance or his prom, he did enter into a relationship after high school. In 1975, when Jesperson was aged 20. He married Rose Huck, and the couple had 3 children, 2 daughters and 1 son. Jesperson worked as a truck driver to support the family. Several years later, Huck began to suspect Jesperson was having affairs when strange women would call. Tension in the marriage increased, and after 14 years, while Jesperson was on the road, Huck packed up her and her children's belongings and drove 200 miles away to live with her parents in Spokane, Washington. The oldest child, Melissa, was 10 years old. Jesperson continued to spend time with his children when he was in town. The couple divorced in 1990. At age 35, standing 6 feet 7 inches tall and weighing approximately 255 pounds, Jesperson began working toward the goal of joining the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which is a RCMP for short. But an injury suffered while training ended his endeavor. He then sought work again as an interstate truck driver after relocating to Cheney, Washington. Jesperson soon realized that this job afforded him the opportunity to kill without being suspected.
In 5 states, and there are a lot of victims out there.
Jesperson's first known victim was Townia Bennett on January 21st, 1990, near Portland, Oregon. He introduced himself to Bennett at a bar and invited her to a house he was renting. After getting in an argument with Bennett, he strangled her to death with his hands and disposed of her body. On August 30th, 1992, the currently unidentified body of a woman Jesperson had raped and strangled was found near Blythe, California. Jesperson gave the Jane Doe's name as Claudia. A month later, in Turlock, California, the body of Cynthia Lynn Rose was discovered. Jesperson claims Rose was a sex worker who entered his truck at a truck stop while he slept. His 4th victim was another sex worker, Laurie Ann Pentland of Salem, Oregon, whose body was found in November 1992. According to Jesperson, Pentland attempted to double the fee she charged for the sex he had been engaged in with her. She threatened to call the police, and he strangled her. Jesperson killed his next victim in June 1993 in Santa Nella, California. She was a previously unidentified woman named Patricia Skipple, who he claimed was named Carla or Cindy. Police originally considered her death a drug overdose. In September 1994, another Jane Doe was found in Crestview, Florida. Jesperson claims that her name was Suzanne. She was identified as Suzanne L. Schellenberg by Othram on October 3, 2023. Jesperson was arrested on March 30th, 1995 for the murder of Julie Winningham. He had been questioned by police a week before, but they had no grounds to arrest him after he refused to talk. In the days following, Jesperson decided that he was certainly going to be arrested, and after 2 suicide attempts, turned himself in, hoping it would result in leniency during his sentencing. While in custody, Jesperson began revealing details of his killings and making claims of many others, most of which he later recanted. A few days before his arrest, he wrote a letter to his brother in which he confessed to having killed 8 people over the course of 5 years. This led police agencies in several states to reopen old cases, many of which were found to be possible victims of Jesperson. Although Jesperson at one point claimed to have had as many as 160 victims, only the 8 women killed in Washington, Oregon, California, Florida, Nebraska, and Wyoming have been confirmed. He is serving 3 consecutive life sentences at the Oregon State Penitentiary in Salem. In September 2009, Jesperson was indicted in Riverside County, California on murder charges. He was extradited in December 2009. He was convicted of another murder and received a 4th life sentence in January 2010.
Keith Jesperson takes steps toward a court appearance he's tried to avoid for years,
as well as an order entering a plea of no contest to the aggravated murder count.
After prosecutors read off the charges, and with the victim's family looking on, Jesperson gave grisly details of how in 1990 he killed 23-year-old Townia Bennett in his apartment.
And forced my fist into her throat and and later grabbed the rope and tied it around her neck securely, and she was dead.
Jesperson says he left the body in the Columbia Gorge, then cleaned up his house.
Washed the carpet, I washed the blood off the walls what I could, and eventually painted the walls of the house I was in, and tried to forget about it. I will assign an order entering a finding of guilty.
His ex-wife accused him. She has a reputation of playing wolf.
Early in the investigation of Bennett's murder, Laverne Pavlinak read the news reports surrounding Bennett's death and saw it as an opportunity to force an end to the long-term abusive relationship she had been in with her live-in boyfriend, John Sosnovsky. Pavlinak set up a meeting with investigators and gave a false confession, using the details she had read in the newspaper to give a detailed story of how Sosnovsky forced her to help him rape, murder, and dispose of Bennett's body. Pavlinak and Sosnovsky were both arrested on March 5, 1990, and both were convicted of the murder on February 8, 1991. To avoid the possibility of facing the death penalty, Sosnovsky pleaded no contest. He was sentenced to life in prison while Pavlinak was sentenced to no less than 10 years, much more than she had anticipated. Pavlinak soon admitted to making up her entire story, but her claims were ignored. On January 7, 1996, more than 5 years after their conviction, Pavlinak and Sosnovsky were released from prison after Jesperson and his attorney offered his confession with convincing evidence of his guilt. He had given police officers the location of the victim's purse. The purse had not been found at the crime scene, and its location was considered information only the killer would know.
Well, I am the happy-face killer.
Following Bennett's murder, as all the attention was going to Pavlinak and Sosnovsky, Jesperson wrote a confession on the bathroom wall of a truck stop and signed it with a smiley face. When that did not create the attention he desired, he wrote letters to media outlets and police departments confessing to his murders, starting with a 6-page letter to the Oregonian in which he revealed the details of his killings. Jesperson signed each letter with a smiley face. This led Phil Stanford, the journalist working the story for the Oregonian, to dub Jesperson the happy face killer.
Remorse? Yeah, I have a lot of remorse.
In November 2008, Jesperson's daughter, Melissa G. Moore, appeared on Dr. Phil to talk about her father. She was also featured on The Oprah Winfrey Show, the Lifetime Movies network series Monster in My Family, and a 2020 special on ABC. She was a correspondent for Crime Watch Daily. In 2008, Moore published a book titled Shattered Silence, the untold story of a serial killer's daughter. Moore recounts living with Jesperson until her parents' 1990 divorce, and noticing how her father was different when she was in elementary school. Their house bordered an apple orchard, and Jesperson killed stray cats and gophers that wandered nearby. One day, she watched, horrified, as he hung stray kittens from the family's clothesline. She ran to get her mother, and when they returned, the kittens lay on the ground, dead. He had watched and laughed as the kittens clawed each other to escape. Then he killed them. In November 2014, she wrote an article about her father for the BBC.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jeff Gianola. Yesterday, in an exclusive interview with Channel 2 News, alleged murderer Keith Jesperson confessed to being the so-called happy face killer. He now admits to killing 8 people during a murder spree across 5 western states since 1990. Jesperson remains in the Clark County Jail, charged with the murder of a Camas woman last March. This morning, you can listen to the entire telephone interview reporter Bob High had with Keith Jesperson. Jesperson begins by saying why he now is going public with this information.
I wrote the letter to start some kind of proceedings, hopefully get the guy out of Oregon being wrongly accused of it. That's the happy face letters. This letter, I wrote it because I want to come clean with everything.
Essentially, then you're saying that you're in the happy face killer?
I am the happy face killer.
There's no doubt.
There is no doubt in my mind. No, I am him. That was started for some kind of show proof that there's somebody out there that's responsible for that crime, because the innocent man was sentenced. He was forced to take a plea bargain to save his life.
Why come forward at this time then?
Well, I got arrested, like you know, and it was just bound to happen. But I've been trying to do it anonymously. I got into this problem I'm in, and I was dealing with the Gideons and the prison ministry, and I was talking to them, and they were talking to me about coming forth with the truth. And thank God, you know, I've got them to come and talk to me, and I was able to come out and tell the truth, and I want to get it all over with, so that this man that's in OSP is not prosecuted anymore for his crime, for a crime he didn't commit.
I understand. For people who don't understand the series of killings, first of all, why did you do them?
I can't answer on that right this time without talking to my attorney, because we still have legal grounds on this. I want to just make sure that it did happen. I'm not denying that they happened. I will come with a full confession on every victim that I have taken care of. I want to make sure it's all out in the open.
And again, outline the number of victims.
There are 8 total victims in the following states of Washington, Oregon, California, Florida, and Wyoming.
And all under the Happy Face Killer?
Yeah, they have been told. The first things I put out were writing on bathroom walls. You wouldn't believe what people write on bathroom walls. They be surprised how fast it gets to management, and then people come and see it and give reasonable doubt. I wanted it known. I wasn't trying to brag that I was trying to get something started, and then that never did anything. They just passed that off as a prank call or whatever. And then I sat down with my conscience and started writing something, and I tried to make myself make the Happy Face, which I did not name. Phil Stanford from the Oregonian, actually, he's a freelance writer now, named that the Happy Face. All I did is sign a circle with 2 little eyes and a crescent smile.
I understand. And your thoughts about what you've done? Anything that you'd like to say to people?
Well, people look. Well, you know, I'm afraid they're going to look at me and they're going to try to say, "Well, this guy's, you know, he's sick, he's over," and it's probably true. I am more than probably. I do have a problem. I know I have a problem. I didn't go looking for I didn't look for it to happen. I wasn't out chasing around and trying to grab what I could out in the street. If that was the case, I've given rides to people all over the country, and no, I'm not out looking for it. I just got caught in a situation where it was whatever. I'm going to talk with my attorney later.
And again, for my understanding, just so I understand, you're the Happy Face Killer, and yeah, just tell me what you can.
Well, I am the Happy Face Killer. I'm dubbed that by Phil Stanford. I tried to make it look like somebody was really, you know, vicious and that was out there, and a lot of things said in those Happy Face letters were not really true in actually the crime content, but they were started to get I was trying to get someone to maybe start an investigation going back to maybe they would release this guy. He was wrongly accused after his ex-wife accused him. She has a reputation of playing wolf, and the Multnomah County Sheriff Department helped her fabricate a lie, so got her convicted for 10 years, and after she got convicted for 10 years, they used that against him for leverage so he could cop a plea bargain, so he could go to jail without having to face a trial, and he saved his life, basically.
Finally, do you have a sense of remorse at all? People, when they hear you talk about this, they might say, "Well, how could he have done those crimes? He sounds pretty collected about the whole thing."
Well, It's kind of hard to explain, but I can't understand how I could do it myself. I've always thought I was a nice person. I've always brought myself out like that, and I've always got along with everybody. And I've come from a broken home, alcoholism and that. And I'm not going to blame that. Of course, there's going to be psychologists that are going to stick their nose in it, and they're going to ask how sane I am. And I am a sane person. I'm saner now than I probably ever have been. I'm coming forth with the truth. I want to make sure it's out there. Remorse? Yeah, I have a lot of remorse. I haven't slept a good night's sleep in 5 years, 5.5 years.
Once again, the one statement you'd like to make about what you're responsible for?
Well, I am responsible for the Happy Face killing, which includes 8 people in 5 states. And there are a lot of victims out there, and I'm very sorry. I didn't, for the life of me, I can't understand myself why, but there's probably a lot of people I know that probably can't understand how I could even. So, that's how I'd like to leave it right this moment.
Okay, Keith, I appreciate that very much, and I think this will help get the word out. And I think it sounds to me that's what you want to do, is get the word out to people who you want to get in touch with.
Well, I want, first of all, I want the guy that's doing my time out. I mean, he is wrongly accused, and I've been trying to do that for years, but nobody wants to listen to writings on the walls. They read about them all the time, but they don't want to listen to them.
For my information, when did that killing take place, and what case, do you remember?
Well, it happened back in January, in the middle of January, about 2/3 way down, and happened in the Portland area.
Portland area. That'll just help me track down the case in case the investigators don't know what I'm talking about or whatever.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right.
Mid-January in the Portland area this year?
Pardon?
January of this year?
No, that was 1990.
1990, okay. I was going to say. Okay. Keith, I appreciate it very much.
And thank you very much.
Okay, take care now.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.